The fluorescent green puddle bubbled on the floor of Lab Sector C as Finnian Elderidge squinted at it, holding a metal probe like it might bite him. He didn't know if it had teeth. That wasn't on the exam sheet. "Do not poke it, Finnian," the voice came from above, a clicking, nasal sort of sound that always made Finnian think of a dial-up modem. "You have already failed the protocol procedure for unknown microbial matter." "I didn't poke it yet, Ixal," Finnian muttered under his breath. "I'm evaluating it." "You were within 4 centimeters of direct contact," Ixal replied, its dozen blue eyes blinking in alternating patterns as it hung from the ceiling like a chandelier made out of wet coral. Finnian pulled his hand back and dropped the probe into the sterilization tray. "You're the one who told me to examine the alien cultures for the final. That thing is definitely alien." Ixal's tentacle slithered toward the puddle and pulled a sample into a transparent vial. "Yes, that is the Yelvori strain 12. It was bred for respiratory adaptation testing. The Zarnavacs claim it can reoxygenate methane-rich environments through microbial conversion." "Right," Finnian said, backing away. "Sounds like a bad time to inhale." Ixal's body pulsed orange in acknowledgement. "Correct." "Do not inhale." The alien floated toward its workstation, leaving Finnian with the other students. Most of them weren't human. There were 2 hulking Ringari with their enormous shoulders hunched over microscopes. A translucent, fleshed Theany scribbling notes with a tentacle that secreted ink directly onto the page, and a skittering, beetle-like creature named Vex who insisted on reciting every step aloud. Finnian glanced at the timer. 48 hours left until the space biology final was due. He still hadn't picked a sample to study. He had tried, but every time he asked a question, Ixal answered in such a way that made him unsure if he was passing a class or preparing to terraform a moon. He sighed and walked to the back corner, where the discard shelf was kept. It was mostly filled with failed microbial experiments, sealed in reinforced vials, and marked with color-coded risk levels. Green for benign, yellow for unstable, red for biohazardous, and the occasional black stripe which he was told to never touch. One of the vials had no marking at all, just a murky little blob floating lazily in a thick gel. Finnian picked it up, turning it in his hands. "No label," he muttered. "You're either useless or someone forgot to mark you. Either way, you're mine now." He checked the registry log. No entry for the vial. Either it was logged wrong or someone didn't bother. He shrugged and brought it to his assigned lab table. The second he unsealed it, the blob inside twitched. Finnian froze. "Okay, you're alive. That's a development." He transferred a small portion to a sterile Petri dish, added a few drops of nutrient solution and slid it into the analyzer. The screen flickered, then glitched, then went completely dark. He looked over the analyzer. "Why would you short this out? You're barely moving." The Petri dish began to glow faintly. A soft, golden light pulsed from the center of the blob like a heartbeat. Finnian blinked. "Okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to get expelled." He tried a different scanner. This one refused to even start. Then he tried the manual method. Microscope, old-school observation, noting changes by hand. The blob grew. Not much, but enough to notice. "Great, now you're feeding," he tilted his head. The blob wasn't just growing, it was changing shape. One edge elongated into a thin strand like a flagellum and began to sweep the dish. It looked almost like it was searching. "Okay, miracle goo, what are you looking for?" He checked the nutrient solution. Standard mix, nothing special. But then he remembered he'd used a drop from his personal stash. He had a habit of mixing his own vitamin blend into his nutrient stock, mostly caffeine, some B12, and a dash of ginseng for flavor. "You're feeding on my vitamin sludge, you weird little thing." The blob pulsed again. This time it split into 2. Finnian staggered back. "Oh no, 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 you are not replicating. I didn't sign anything that said spawns when fed ginseng." He reached for the containment dome, but the dish flared with light, momentarily blinding him. When he looked back, the dish was empty. He checked under the microscope. Still nothing. Then he felt something cold touch the back of his hand. The blob was crawling across his skin. Finnian yelped, grabbing a sterilization wipe and trying to scrape it off. It clung to his skin like jelly, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. He ran to the emergency wash station and jammed his hand under the high-pressure solvent spray. The blob didn't budge. Ixal's voice rang out from the main console. "Finnian Elderidge, what have you done?" "I touched a thing and now it's touching me." Ixal descended from the ceiling, scanning him. "This organism is not listed in any of the databases. It is not part of the exam inventory. I got it from the discard shelf." Ixal's color changed from orange to deep red. "You have exposed yourself to unknown biological matter without following any safety protocol. You must be quarantined." "I was going to quarantine myself. I just didn't have time yet." Ixal herded him into the quarantine chamber. The gel creature still clung to the back of his hand, now glowing faintly. "Do not remove it by force. It may have bonded." "Bonded?" Finnian stared at it. "With what? My skin? Possibly your nervous system. Fantastic." Ixal activated the internal scanners. "It is interacting with your cellular structure, not attacking. It appears to be modifying something." "Modifying what?" "Unknown." "You will remain here for observation." Finnian slumped onto the cot inside the chamber. "This is the worst final exam ever." 2 hours passed. Then 4. Then 12. By the 13th hour, Finnian had stopped feeling tired. His headache, one he'd had for weeks, was gone. Even the old scar on his knee from a biking accident years ago stopped aching in the cold. He stared at himself in the chamber mirror. His skin looked clearer. His posture felt better. The little blob was now a thin, translucent patch, like a second skin on his wrist. Ixal returned, floating silently through the sealed entrance. "Your biomarkers have stabilized. In fact, they are above baseline human standards. Cellular regeneration has increased by 200%. I don't even know what that means. It means your body is healing faster than it should. Your immune system has been enhanced. Your blood shows signs of increased oxygen efficiency." Finnian blinked. "So, I'm better?" "You are not merely better, you are altered." Ixal scanned the blob. "This organism is symbiotic. It is not harming you. It is improving you." "Okay, but improvement through mystery goo was not in the syllabus." Ixal floated closer. "This organism could be the cure to multiple degenerative diseases, potentially even cellular decay from radiation exposure." Finnian's eyes widened. "You're saying I accidentally discovered a cure?" Ixal pulsed green. "That is not the term I would use, but yes." He leaned back against the wall. "I was just trying to pass my final." Outside the chamber, chaos erupted. The Finnian student collapsed at their station, clutching their chest. Vex screeched and scrambled for help. Ixal turned to the console. "The Finnian has contracted strain 12. It mutated." Finnian stood. "Can this thing help them?" Ixal hesitated. "Unknown. But the organism adapted to your body. It may be able to adapt to the Finnian." Finnian looked at the blob on his wrist. "How do we transfer it?" "We must extract a sample, carefully." A robotic arm extended into the chamber. Finnian placed his arm under the extractor. A gentle suction pulled a portion of the organism into a new vial. As soon as it was sealed, the blob on his wrist pulsed once and retracted to a smaller size. "Did it just shrink?" "It gave part of itself," Ixal said. "To help another." Finnian exhaled slowly. "I hope it's enough." Outside, the vial was administered to the Finnian. Within minutes, their vitals began to stabilize. Ixal floated back to the chamber. "The organism is adapting to other species. It may be universal." Finnian sat back down. "So I passed." "You may have passed biology. You also may have rewritten it." He stared at his wrist. "I just wanted to see." Ixal's colors pulsed in rapid succession. "Prepare for debriefing. The council will want to hear everything." Finnian groaned. "Can I at least get some coffee first?" "No." "You are under medical observation." "Of course I am." Finnian leaned back again, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere across the station, a miracle was replicating itself in the bloodstream of a creature from another world, and all he had done was feed it vitamin sludge. The first thing Finnian noticed when he stepped out of quarantine was the silence, not the sterile kind either. It was an anticipatory hush like the inside of a concert hall moments before the first note. He'd expected chaos, alarms, maybe a few sirens. Instead, the corridor outside Iksal's lab was empty, save for a single floating orb light that tracked his movement with an unsettling patience. "Should I be worried that no one's screaming?" Finnian asked, keeping his arms slightly raised in what he hoped was a neutral, non-contagious posture. Iksal glided into view from a side module, trailing a faint scent of ozone. "Containment protocols have worked. The Theanese recovery halted the spread." "You mean the goo worked again?" The symbiont responded to foreign biology with tailored adaptation. It restructured itself within seconds of contact. Finnian scratched the edge of his wrist where the remaining patch of translucent gel had settled into a faint shimmer, like a scar made of light. "So it's doing gene therapy on the fly. That's wildly illegal, right?" Iksal didn't answer. Instead, it extended a smaller appendage holding a metallic cuff. "For monitoring, we must observe all vitals continuously. Do not remove it." Finnian hesitated. "Is it going to shock me if I sneeze?" "Only if you sneeze plasma." He slipped the cuff on and followed Iksal through a winding corridor into the station's central medical research wing. The door whooshed open to reveal a full diplomatic panel, 3 Calvex in their thermal exosuits, a single Norathi with its skin constantly shifting patterns, and a pair of Terran Union officials who looked like they'd been force-fed bad news for breakfast. The taller of the humans, a woman with silver-threaded hair and fatigue in every gesture, stepped forward. "I'm Director Halden." "You're Finnian Elderidge." "I used to be. You brought an unclassified organism into proximity with multiple interspecies subjects without clearance." "I didn't know it was unclassified. You also didn't report it immediately." "I was busy not dying." Iksal raised one of its appendages. The subject was in compliance with all containment measures once symptoms manifested. "The organism has shown no hostile behavior." Halden didn't look convinced. "Adaptation doesn't mean safety. It's not just adapting." "It's learning," Finnian said, glancing at the Calvex trio, who remained eerily still inside their temperature-regulated shells. "And I don't think it stops at biology." The Norathi blinked its entire body in a slow, undulating wave. "We observed the Theanese neural readings during treatment." The patient reported vivid recall of forgotten memories and enhanced cognitive focus. "So it's a brain booster too?" Finnian asked. "All that from a blob I found next to a cracked beaker." Director Halden gave him a look usually reserved for people who tried to microwave metal. "We've initiated a Level 5 bioethics review. Until it concludes, you're under restricted mobility." Iksal's body darkened several shades. "The subject is critical to ongoing analysis. Restricting access would delay findings." Halden didn't blink. "So would a station-wide infection." Finnian raised his cuffed wrist. "This thing's not contagious, right? I mean, it hasn't tried to crawl off and start a commune in my sock drawer." "Containment is holding," said Iksal, "but the symbiont's behavior is increasingly anticipatory." It responded to the Theanese distress before vital collapse. "Preemptive healing?" Finnian asked, "or predictive?" That shut everyone up. The Calvex finally moved. One of them emitted a low, grinding chime through its translator. "Symbiont demonstrates capacity for parallel processing." "Possible neural mimicry. Unprecedented." Finnian looked around. "So, what happens now? You gonna keep me in a jar?" "Not a jar," Halden said. "But you're going to a secure residence. Monitored interaction only, no public access." "Great. I'll go pack my non-existent bags." Later that cycle, Finnian found himself in a converted observation suite on Deck 8. It was spacious, with reinforced walls and a panoramic view of the gas giant below. A single interface console sat in the corner, blinking slowly like it was bored. He paced for a while, then stopped when he noticed the shimmer on his wrist pulse faintly. "Don't start glowing again." I don't need another reason for them to sedate me. There was a soft vibration in his fingertips. He stared at his hand. What are you doing now? No response, obviously. He sat at the console and activated the input field. No external connections, just internal logs and approved research files. He began typing notes. After 2 hours, he noticed something. His memory had improved, not just a little. He recalled exact molecule chains from a textbook he'd skimmed 3 years ago, including footnotes he'd barely glanced at. He cross-referenced them with the files accurate, down to the placement of the hydrogen atoms. He pressed his fingers to his temples. Okay. That's not normal. The door hissed open. Ixal entered, trailing behind a new figure tall with elongated arms and obsidian skin that reflected light like oil. This is Dr. Velen, Ixal said, behavioral cognition specialist. Here to evaluate your neurological integration. Neurological what now? Velen approached with a slow, deliberate gait. Its eyes were pure white, no iris or pupil. It extended a hand. Finnian hesitated, then shook it. Do you experience auditory hallucinations? Velen asked. No. Visual distortions. No. Do you feel the organism's decisions are your own? What kind of question is that? A necessary one. Finnian sat. It doesn't talk to me, it doesn't make suggestions, it just helps. Velen stepped closer. It helped the Theani before you were informed of their condition. It anticipated a crisis. That implies independent assessment. It's not using me, it's working with me. Define with, Finnian exhaled. I have more energy, I remember things better, my coordination's boosted. But I'm still the one making the choices. Velen tilted its head. For now, Ixal shifted beside them. We are not detecting parasitic override. Neural mapping shows standard human activity augmented but not replaced. Velen studied Finnian's face. If the organism evolves a preference, will it ask or take? Finnian looked at his wrist. I don't know. 30 hours later, another case emerged. A Ringari engineer collapsed during a routine systems check. Same symptoms. Same rapid onset. This time, there was no known exposure to the original strain. Halden ordered a full lockdown. Finnian watched from his suite as evacuation orders were issued to non-essential personnel. Medical drones roamed the halls like wasps, scanning for elevated temperatures and mismatched oxygen saturation. Then came the knock. He opened the door to find Vex, the beetle-like student, panting and holding a sealed vial. I stole it, Vex said, antennae twitching erratically. The Calvex wanted to incinerate it, said it was too unstable. What is it? A sample from your original dish. It split again, grew a node. Finnian took the vial. The gel inside shimmered like mercury laced with starlight. Why bring it to me? It pulsed when I said your name. Finnian frowned. You're saying it recognized me, more like it answered. He looked at the vial. Then at the patch on his wrist. Fine, he said. Let's see what it wants. Vex blinked. You're going to talk to it. No, I'm going to let it talk to itself. He placed the vial beside his wrist on the console and waited. The shimmer on his skin pulsed once. The vial responded. Nothing dramatic. No lights, no sounds, but Finnian felt something, not a voice. A feeling, recognition, and then a question so primal it didn't need words. Are you ready? He didn't know what it meant, but he answered yes. The symbiont didn't glow, pulse, or shimmer again. It simply stayed there, both the one on Finnian's wrist and the second one in the vial, quiet as cooled gel. But something had changed. He didn't sleep that shift, though not out of discomfort. He felt fine, too fine. His body, usually sluggish after long hours, now seemed tuned to some internal rhythm that beat with unshakable patience. He sat beside the console and stared out at the gas giant below, its swirling violet storms moving like ink in water. At first light cycle, Ixal entered without ceremony, accompanied by a clunky med drone that rolled in with a tray of equipment and a barely functioning voice module that emitted a wheezy greeting. You will undergo a secondary full-body diagnostic. The Council has requested evidence of sustained symbiotic integration. Finnian raised an eyebrow. Did their trust expire overnight? No, Ixal replied, but their funding did. He stood as the med drone extended a sensor wand over his chest. A soft chime followed. The wand paused at his temples, then his spine, then hovered over his wrist. The drone beeped twice, then went silent. Results, Ixal said. The drone sputtered, then printed a thin strip of synth paper which curled up like a lazy fern. Ixal unfurled it and scanned. Neuromuscular efficiency has increased again. You are currently operating at 23% above human baseline. That's not dangerous, is it? Only if you attempt to lift something larger than a transport crate. I suggest restraint. Finnian tapped the vial. What about this one? It hasn't moved since yesterday. Ixal took the vial and held it under the lab light. It has entered a dormant state, possibly awaiting stimulus. Like what? Unknown. Possibly a new host. No, Finnian said quickly. We're not testing it on anyone else. Agreed. A chime sounded from the wall console, not a warning, but a visitor notification. Vex stood outside, antennae twitching with barely contained panic. Finnian opened the door. What now? The beetle-like alien handed him a data wafer. Engineering just flagged a structural anomaly. The air filtration system in Medical Deck 3 has stopped processing methane pockets. Methane? This station doesn't run on methane. No, Vex said, but the Zarnavacs do. Their visiting delegation is in that wing. They're suffocating. Ixal reacted with uncharacteristic urgency. That strain. It was designed for methane adaptation. Strain 12. Finnian blinked. You think it mutated again? Possibly. If it escaped containment, it may have replicated along the filtration system. Vex vibrated nervously. We need to get down there. The Zarnavacs can't survive long in high-oxygen environments. Medical Deck 3 was a 10-minute shuttle ride through the station's midline. Finnian, Ixal, and Vex arrived to find the corridor sealed, with 2 Calvex guards posted outside, their exosuits hissing in the recycled air. Inside, a reddish haze clung to the walls and visibility was low. Sheer methane concentration, Ixal observed. Too dense. Any exposed organics will asphyxiate. Hooray, Finnian muttered. Another problem I didn't sign up for. Vex handed him a rebreather mask. You'll need this. He took it but didn't put it on. Wait, what if I don't? Ixal's eyes blinked in unison. You will lose consciousness in under 2 minutes without filtration. But what if the symbiont adapts? That is not a recommended theory. Finnian looked at his wrist. The gel layer had thickened slightly, forming a translucent band across his veins. I think it's already preparing, he said. Or it's reacting to stress, Ixal replied. Only one way to find out. Before either alien could protest, Finnian stepped through the decontamination arch and into the haze. The air was thick and metallic, like breathing through rust. His lungs seized for a moment, then something inside his chest shifted. He took another breath. This time it didn't burn. He walked forward, deeper into the deck. Shapes moved behind the haze, tall, insectoid bodies of the Zarnavacs, limbs twitching weakly. One of them collapsed against the wall. Finnian rushed over, crouched, and pulled the alien into a more upright position. Its carapace was cracked in places, and its breathing was shallow and erratic. Hang on, he said, not entirely sure if the alien understood him. The symbiont on his wrist pulsed. A faint thread extended from it like drawn vapor and touched the Zarnavacs' thorax. Nothing dramatic happened, no glow, no spark, but the alien's breathing slowed. Stabilized, another Zarnavac stumbled toward him. Finnian didn't move, he just let it near. The symbiont responded again, extending another thread. Within 3 minutes, the haze began to clear. Not because of filtration, but because the symbiont was absorbing it, reprocessing it. Ixal's voice crackled through the intercom. Your vitals are steady. The air composition is shifting. Methane levels are dropping. Yeah, Finnian replied. It's cleaning up. Later, back in the lab, the council summoned a private review. No audience. Just 5 delegates appearing via holographic link, each one representing a different species with very different ideas of ethics and control. The Norathi delegate spoke first, her voice rippling like submerged bells. The symbiont demonstrates planetary-level environmental reconditioning. That cannot be ignored. The Calvex delegate followed, their tone flat. Such a tool is a strategic asset. It must be controlled. Finnian frowned. You make it sound like a weapon. All tools are weapons if applied with sufficient force, the Calvex replied. I didn't build this thing, I just found it, and it's not obeying orders, it's helping. The Terran Union representative leaned forward. And what happens when it decides not to help? It's not a pet, it's a partner, Finnian said. It won't decide to do anything unless it's needed. Then prove it, said the Norathi. Ixal gestured to the interface console. We have isolated a segment of the symbiont in a sealed habitat. It has been exposed to a synthetic pathogen designed to mimic cellular degeneration. Finnian watched as the display showed a Petri dish containing a small portion of the symbiont. The pathogen was introduced. For a full minute, nothing happened. Then the symbiont moved. It surrounded the pathogen, absorbed it, and converted it into inert protein chains. The Norathi delegate inclined her head. It is not just adaptive, it is selective. The Calvex delegate remained silent. The Terran Union representative exhaled. So what now? Ixal turned to Finnian. That depends on him. Finnian looked down at his wrist. The band of gel was thinner now, as if it had given away more of itself. We don't own it, he said, and we don't control it, but we can learn from it. If we treat it like a lab rat, it'll shut down, but if we let it keep choosing. Maybe it keeps saving people. The delegates conferred silently, their holograms flickering. After a moment, the Calvex delegate spoke. Very well, the symbiont will not be weaponized, nor detained. It will remain with its host. For now. The session ended. One by one, the holograms blinked out. Ixal hovered beside him. You have altered the outcome of 3 interstellar treaties. Congratulations. I didn't mean to. Very few do. Later that day, Finnian returned to the original lab. The discard shelf was empty now, cleared out, cleaned. He sat at his old station, hands resting on the table. Vex appeared in the doorway. They're naming it, the symbiont? Yeah, every species wants to call it something different. What are they going with, your name, or close to it? Elderidge sounds fancier. Finnian shook his head, laughing softly. Great. Now I'm a footnote in a medical textbook. Better than a warning label. They stood there in silence for a while, watching the stars drift outside the viewport. Finally, Finnian said, I think I passed the final. Vex tilted his head. You dissolved the grading system. Still counts.